Today, we are diving into the world of innovative construction materials with Ascolite, a brand that has been steadily redefining how the industry approaches some of its most persistent challenges. Founded in 2012 under Ashwani Industries Private Limited and headquartered in Surat, Ascolite was built on a powerful insight that while most construction attention goes to structure and aesthetics, a crucial 20% of the process often leads to nearly 80% of long term issues in buildings. Recognizing this gap, Ascolite set out to develop solutions that address these critical areas, offering a wide portfolio that includes walling systems, waterproofing solutions, tiles, and stone installation products. Fly ash blocks and construction chemicals today with over 100 products and a presence in several major projects. The brand is focused on improving durability, efficiency, and performance in modern construction. Today, we have with ourselves Nitin Lalwani, COO of Ascolite. Hi, sir. How are you doing today?
Very well, Anita. Thank you for the introduction. Lovely meeting you today.
Lovely, sir. So, my first question is what inspired the founding vision behind Ascolite in 2012?
So, Anita, let me tell you, we have been in the construction industry for over 3 decades. Our group, the Ascon Group, has specialized into real estate, residential real estate, luxury properties, construction of these properties in Surat for over 3 decades now. And this is where we learned our insight. So, we've been part of the community for a long time. And that's where we learned that in the exploding industry of construction, um, many of the stakeholders of construction are facing some issues. With this speed, there is compromise in durability. With this speed, there is compromise in execution efficiency, right? That's where we
Right.
got our insight. We saw common issues, common complaints coming through the industry as a whole. We've been part of associations, we've been part of some forums where we've learned all of these things. And we saw that while uh, a lot of the developers and the construction stakeholders have put a lot of focus on the first stage of construction, that is the RCC concrete stage of construction. And there's been a lot of focus towards the third stage of construction, that is the aesthetics, where all the architects get involved and ensure the building looks great and beautiful. There has been very little focus in stage two. Somehow that has been something that has been missed. So stage two comprises of bringing these two things together. Once the skeleton of the building or the RCC or the concrete of the building is ready, you have to fill it, or the builders have to fill it with walls, waterproofing, and other functional products that are necessary to make sure that the service life of the building is great, right?
Right.
So the most common complaints of any construction that you hear would be cracks, would be leakage, would be lack of insulation, sound insulation, or temperature insulation, right? These are the most common complaints that we receive. We thought this is the area to be in, and being in the industry, we saw very little players put focus here. So that's that. We found our spot, and that's how we introduced Ascolite. In fact, to address this issue, to address the 80% of complaints that come from this 20% focal area of stage two, we started with one product, that is fly ash AAC blocks. If I
Okay.
may expand,
Yes, please.
uh, red clay bricks have been the go-to product for masonry in India for over decades now. And with time, the consistency, quality, and performance requirement of the product have been deteriorating, right? Not
Right.
only it is harmful to our nature, but the quality standards have not been met. We see frequent leakage and seepage issues from walls that come out of red clay bricks. We see efflorescence issues that come out from red clay bricks. We see the plaster debonding or the POP debonding because of the moisture in red clay bricks. And not only that, the availability of red clay bricks had also become a concern. So that's where we found AAC as a rising star, as a rising product in India. that was really talked about in the early 2010s or 2012s. And that's when we came up with Asia's largest manufacturing facility for fly ash based AAC blocks then. And to your surprise, if I tell you, in the first year of commercialization, we were able to achieve 70% of our production capacity's utilization.
Wow.
That shows the whopping acceptance via the market that we got, where we had just started with a few cities like Surat, Mumbai, Pune, and nearby cities thereof, and very limited people in sales. Those are the times where, Naveen, my elder brother, also the founder of the company, myself would go shoulder to shoulder with our sales team to ensure that we are able to win the confidence of the customers, convert them from using the traditional old age bricks to these new age AAC blocks. So this was
How
our first stepping stone.
difficult was it to, change the conventional mindset of people, because red clay bricks have been used since a lot of years, since the ancient times, I guess, and most of the peoples are still using it. What is
Yes.
your tips
Yes.
to those people?
So see, of course, there was a lot of resistance. It would be fake to say that it was a cakewalk. But let me tell you, this product carries some significant benefits. Not only that it is environment friendly, it carries benefits that are dear to the construction industry, the builders themselves, the contractors themselves, and also to the consumers. So to name a few, this product is light in weight. Its main features is that it's one third the weight of a brick. If I have to give some context. So this makes the entire structure, entire construction very light in weight, leading to a more efficient construction in terms of cost and earthquake friendliness, right? And it is also 9 times the size of a brick. So it is easier to build with blocks. So this helped us gain traction and easy acceptance in the market. And if I have to state a few consumer benefits, the problem of leakage and seepage was eliminated because of these blocks. And moreover, it gave some thermal insulation benefits and some sound insulation benefits that helped energy savings and some better lifestyle benefits to the product and consumers. So this led to easy acceptance. And because of construction industry going through a boom at that point in time, we entered the market in the right spot. There was an acute shortage of construction materials, especially masonry products, which really helped us. Yes.
So, what was the key gap that you noticed in the construction ecosystem that led you to build a more system driven solution model?
So the biggest gap, in fact, I would break this into two. There were two great gaps that we saw. One, the exploding speed of construction that was demanded by the entire ecosystem. So everyone wanted better buildings and which were built faster. This was the demand of the hour then.
Even now,
And
I think
the
people want their houses and buildings to be constructed in 3 or 4 months now.
yes, and that too, the kind of features, amenities, and functions that are required is multifold than what it was earlier.
Right.
Right, and
Yeah.
that too with the kind of labor shortage that we have. Of course, with technology in place, that has become possible, but this was the problem then, and even it is today. So we saw this gap then, and we saw that not only the speed is the requirement of the hour, we also saw that there is an acute shortage of skilled manpower, be it skilled labor, or be it trained engineers who have the knowledge set for construction. So this was a gap. Now to eliminate this gap, the only two solutions that we saw is introducing products that are easier and smarter to apply, to install, right? And initiate a separate department, a mission to train the entire ecosystem in place. So today we have a large number of trainers in our company who have their only KRAs to train engineers, to train applicators, to train contractors, to aid the Skill India initiative of India. And
Wow.
we've trained over lakhs of applicators and contractors till now. We've trained over thousands of engineers till now. And this adoption is only happening because of the kind of knowledge transfer that we're trying to enable, and a lot of many other companies like us who are doing so. So if we continue to do this, I'm sure easier and faster adoption of newer materials will always be successful.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So can you please share a few interesting insights about your already completed projects?
So, when we joined the construction materials industry, we had the opportunity to be part of some very great projects. So, if I have to start off with, I remember Casa Bella and Casa Rio, I think it was part of the Lodha group then. It was a massive initiative by the Lodha group then. And we were able to, supply the kind of requirement they had then, which had acute shortage. It was a massive township in Mumbai, and it is one of the biggest townships still available there in the Mumbai metropolitan region. Apart from that, we've been part of the Antilia project. We've been part of the Vantara project, and we have given some solutions there. We've been part of a lot of projects by Kalpataru. We've been part of a lot of projects by Oberoi. We've been doing a lot of projects for L&T, for a lot of their clients as well. And we've been part of some industrial projects as well. If I have to specify, Apar Industries is something that we have done. Reliance Industries is something that we have done. ArcelorMittal, Nippon Steel is something that we are still part of. And we have also been contributing to the bullet train project, and we're still supplying to them in great numbers. And we've been part of some metro projects in Mumbai. So yes, we were contributing to a lot of big projects that have been key initiative drivers for the construction industry.
So in the market that often price sensitive, what made you double down on a technical partner-led approach instead?
So see, I'll tell you, this industry, as I said, is a fragmented industry. So there are various small players and there are various large players, right?
Right.
The problem with smaller players is that they're unable to give the kind of experience, or they're unable to build on an ecosystem that can deliver on the right approach. And the problem with MNCs is that they somehow lose on the personal touch that is required,
Right.
right? So we hit the sweet spot. So we felt that we can stay close to the industry stakeholders. We can stay close to the relevant audience, the influencers of this industry, the architects, the structural engineers, the applicators, the contractors. And if they know what we do, if they know how to use what we sell,
Yeah.
right, that
Right.
will double down on our revenue and our success. And that's really what worked for us.
Exactly. When you look at the growth today, which matrix really matters to you more? Project specification, partner adoption, or repeat demand?
So I think partner adoption is the way to scale. If I have to talk about what personal metrics do I appreciate the most, is of course the connection that I have with the projects. Because that's where the maximum learning happens, that's where the maximum discussion happens, that's where you gain insights. So in
Right.
terms of user insights and product orientation, projects will be my go-to. But if I have to talk about scale, and if I have to talk about expansion, and if I have to talk about the big numbers, the value chain can only be multiplied if I have the right channel partners. So without them, this wouldn't have been possible. And without them, I don't think so there is a future for this industry.
Nice. So the company and you yourself just talk about the 20% of the construction, that is the critical part of it. So can you explain more briefly about this philosophy of yours?
Yes, certainly. So see, the first product that we ever launched was fly ash blocks, AAC fly ash blocks. So the biggest problem that we saw then was the use of red clay bricks. All right, we've seen red clay bricks being used for decades and decades, and forever.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of problems that come with red clay bricks. We see a lot of seepage, a lot of leakage, a lot of walls being spoiled, a lot of poor quality bricks being used. And this had become a nuisance value for the industry, not only for the consumer, because they had to face the brunt of this being used, but even for the builder, to procure good quality bricks had become an issue. And even for the environment, where a lot of red clay or clay had been used to make these bricks. So we started manufacturing. In fact, we found that the product AAC blocks has a great advantage and is a great engineered product. It is a great technical product for this particular masonry function. So we came up with the Asia's largest manufacturing facility in India then, right? And we launched and we started marketing and selling, manufacturing, marketing and selling AAC blocks, fly ash based AAC blocks then, which not only solved the environmental problem of excavating clay by substituting in replacing to fly ash utilization. So this product is primarily made of fly ash, right? So we were using industrial waste, and it also gave tremendous benefits to not only the builder but the consumer as well. Some salient benefits to the builder was the product is much lighter in weight in comparison to red clay bricks. It is much bigger in size, approximately 8 or 9 times the size of a red clay brick. This also led in labor efficiency. This also led in decreased dead load of the building, enabling lighter weight construction. It also gave certain benefits to the consumer. So no more leaky walls, the biggest benefit. And the walls also became an insulation for the external environment. So reduction in AC costs, reduction in energy costs and things like that. So this became a very big hit for us. In this being our first product, we achieved 70% of our production capacities in sales in the very first year. So this was a great achievement for us, despite it being the largest manufacturing plant then. And since then, we have focused on such sustainable and smart materials to fit into this segment. And from an AAC company, we became a walling company. We introduced various other walling products as well. So pre-mixed plasters, pre-mixed mortars, bonding agents, and anything and everything that's required to build a wall. And then the journey never stopped.
That's a great analogy. How has Ascolite evolved from its early days to a portfolio of 100 plus products today?
Oh, so see, back in 2012, when we started, we were barely 4 or 5 of us in sales, where, myself and my brother Naveen would go in the market shoulder to shoulder with the team, gaining trust and confidence of the customers, selling block by block. It was then. And, getting the first few customers on board to the first few hundred then. Today, we are over 100 products in terms of our portfolio. We are over 100 people in sales. We are present across from Mumbai and Surat then to over 7 states today. So the journey has been beautiful. The core strategic decision that we had to make in the first few years was in fact in the first years of success was to expand our AAC range to across India, or whether to diversify our product portfolio and serve the existing customers that we have. And interestingly, we chose the unconventional second way of doing business, and we stuck to our geographical territory then and expanded our product range, which really worked out for us.
So that's great. So what was the key construction challenges that and your company faced when you were originally built to solve these issues?
All right. See, Anita, our industry is quite fragmented. We have small startups in our industry who do not have a strong historic backing of being in the industry, small startup bootstrap brands. And we also have MNC players who have been in the industry for decades now, right?
Yeah.
So it is making our space in this fragmented zone. This was the first challenge. In fact, being a mid-sector brand, starting off as a mid-sector brand, we had the sweet spot. We could deliver the experience that the MNCs could give, and we did not carry the unnecessary baggage and cost that the MNCs would carry. So that became a really big success for us then. Yes.
Good to know, sir. How important is the Surat manufacturing base in your growth strategy? Is there any other manufacturing units in the list for the future?
Yes, so see, Surat is strategically a very good spot for manufacturing. Not only it is very industrially friendly, but it lies nearby Bombay, Ahmedabad, and even Pune as major cities to cater to. It also has vicinity to a lot of the raw materials that we need, including fly ash, chemicals, and other raw materials that are required. Gujarat being an industrial state. So that, of course, gave us a good kickstart. But as we grew states, as we from the west of India, we went to the south of India as well. Some products, of course, were not viable to sell from Gujarat to the south of India. So we did establish a few satellite plants in the south as well. We have got a satellite plant in the south, and we also have a satellite plant in Chhattisgarh, catering that market as well.
Okay. So, can you please share some examples of large or high impact projects where Ascolite products made a huge difference?
So I'll share one interesting example. When we launched our first product, AAC blocks, fly ash AAC blocks, that time, especially the market of Mumbai, was undergoing massive construction speed. And there was an acute shortage of raw materials there, building materials there. And many of the builders were unable to meet their deadlines and timelines for construction. In fact, some keep builders like the Lodhas, the Rustomjis, and contractors like L&T were struggling to source raw materials then, efficiently source raw materials then. So we entered the right time. So a lot of these projects we have been able to contribute successfully and help complete their timelines. In fact, some of them also told me we were planning to invest in getting into construction material manufacturing ourselves. But now that you have sufficient capacity, we can focus on our business. After those initial mega projects that we catered, we have also successfully done. We've done a bit of repair work in Antilia. We have done some work for the Antara Zoo. We have completed the Lodha World One Tower with some of our products. In fact, many skyscrapers of Mumbai is where we have contributed.
How closely does your company work with the engineers, contractors, architects while designing solutions?
So I'll tell you, Anita, in fact, this initially was the biggest problem that we had to cater to, because most of our products are not aesthetic products. They're all functional products. They're all engineered products, right? And they need a lot of technical expertise. They need a lot of functional knowledge before you can use the product. So the initial time that took the initial roadblock that we had to solve was to ensure that people or the stakeholders know our product well, right? So we had to develop a separate team to ensure this product knowledge transfer is done well. So even today, we hold workshops and uh, training sessions for a lot of engineers, a lot of contractors, a lot of architects that are held day on day basis, be it for any project team or be it for any retail based applicator as well. So we have trained over 1 lakh applicators so far. We have held sessions for more than 5,000 engineers so far, and we have to work with them day in and day out. And that's when the product really started giving us the right success.
How is Ascolite addressing the growing demand for sustainable and durable construction materials?
So see, fly ash blocks in fact had been our first product that contributed not only neutrally but positively to the environment. We were utilizing industrial waste, which contributed to 70% of our product requirement in AAC, raw material requirement in AAC. So we have used lakhs and lakhs of tons of fly ash so far. Uh, Not only in fly ash blocks, but all the other construction chemicals that we manufacture, we have a very clear intent that the products should be either zero VOC or low VOC in nature. They should not emit any harmful emissions or gases that can harm the applicator or in the future the consumer itself. We have also installed some solar power plants that help us, do the captive utilization of power. So we're doing our bit in terms of sustainability and renewable energy and ensuring that we do our part to make sure the environment is safe. Yes,
That is the demand of the decade right now. What
absolutely,
trends are
absolutely.
you currently seeing in the Indian construction material market?
So there are a lot of labor issues that are coming in year by year. There is always an acute shortage of labor or of skilled labor at construction. Although the construction industry is the second largest employer for the country in terms of labor and man workforce, we still face acute shortage. So the trend I see going forward is introducing material and construction techniques which involve less labor, maybe skilled but less labor. So we have introduced a lot of pre-mixed materials that have worked. So earlier, builders and developers would have to source a lot of raw materials to prepare one aspect of construction. What we have done is we have factory made a lot of materials in where they need only one instead of five raw materials, right? Which require less labor, less handling, less wastage. So it is more efficient and smart. So we see this trend going forward, and we see the use of technology, the use of machinery, uh, exponentially growing in the times to come. It is just a matter of time, whereas countries abroad out of India have already adopted a lot of techniques that we are still not doing so, merely because of labor cost being lesser in India and the technological cost being higher. But it is a matter of a few years that we'll have to adopt to those techniques as well.
Are there any upcoming product innovations or new categories in the company that is as Ascolite is exploring right now?
Yes, we are exploring a couple of product category lines. We are, in fact, focusing on developing spray plasters as a new category. So, currently, the labor intensive way of plastering and covering masonry of walls, we're trying to mechanize. And that's one. Second is we're also venturing into a lot of industrial products. We have industrial product categories with us, but we are trying to get into a whole new segment altogether that can help industries, with their compliances and durable construction requirements.
How does Ascolite plan to expand its presence across different regions of India?
So, Anita, as I said, the primary choice of expansion that we had was expanding our product categories. So, from one product today, we are 100 products, and we chose that route first. So, today we have over 100 products in a few states of India. So the idea was to capitalize on our existing customer base rather than developing a new customer base and serving this existing customer base with many more products. So that really worked well for us. Now that we have many of our customers buying multiple products from us, and we have developed quite a few customer segments within this territory, now we're gradually expanding state by state. So post COVID, we started the southern market, and we have well seeded the southern market. So we see the south of India as a great potential market for us. We see that the demand is quite mature there, and the customers very different there. So we see that working well for us, and gradually we then will be moving up towards the north as well. So currently we are focusing on west, and we have spread our territories across south and even across central India. So we see the next 2 years us focusing in south and center. And once that is done in the right manner, of course, we will expand towards the north of India to see.
That's great. So, as the COO of Ascolite, what is your long-term vision for the company in the next decades?
So we want to be amongst the finest solution providers of the industry. So we have never shied away from listening to the customer in terms of their problems and their issues with not only our products, but with any product that they are using. You know, we're trying to be a more system performance driven company where our focus not only lies in the products that we sell, but in the 20% area that we spoke of, right?
Right.
So we want to be known as a brand who solves the 20% the 20% area which gives the 80% problem.
So, Nitin, do you want to talk about any new upcoming project?
So yes, certainly I would like to add something. More than a project, it is an opportunity that we are foreseeing. So we as a brand have been highly B2B focused, right? Because of the nature of our initial products and the customer segment that we started off with, we have been a highly B2B focused brand. Recently, we have have had keen interest in becoming a more consumer driven brand as well. So we have entered retail as a space for building solutions and for construction material. And we've started off with metro cities like Mumbai, Surat, Ahmedabad, Pune to start off with. And in 3 years, we've successfully added over 5,000 retail counters as part of our channel partner supply chain. And we see this to be something that is a great opportunity for us to expand across various states. Uh, Modern and smart products is something that not only B2B developer brands should be using, it is something that even consumers or individual home buyers should also have access to. So that's something that we're really looking forward to.
That's very great. All the best to you and Ascolite, sir. It was a great conversation. Looking forward to
Thank you.
having more conversations with you in future.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
Thank
Anita.
you so much.
All the best.